Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news as Erik ten Hag publicly calls out the club again for their lack of signings in the January transfer window. Also, we've got a report to discuss that Sir Jim Ratcliffe doesn't have the money to buy Manchester United. Erik ten Hag in the second section of his press conference last night also talking about Harry Maguire, his role at the football club, also why certain young players are not getting game time at Manchester United. Paul Ince has been talking about his visit to Manchester United tonight, and also a bit of a Marco Reus blow. We were talking about him coming on loan yesterday. There's a bit of an update why that won't happen even in the summer. So lots to get involved with. Also, Manchester Evening News have been talking about midfielders that we're looking at in the summer. So for a match day and a Saturday morning, we've got a raft of stuff to get through. A lot of it coming from the mouth of the manager. Really damning stuff, actually. If it wasn't a match day, I think it would be bigger news. But we'll certainly start and ramp it up because I think it's significant what Erik ten Hag has said. Lots to get involved with, as I said. Again, link for the tour tickets is in the live chat and the video description. Dublin's nearly sold out. Dublin is kicking everyone's arse. I mean, I can't wait to go to Belfast, Edinburgh and see how they do. But Dublin, 2 events, sold the first one out in an hour. Second one, there's only about 30 tickets left. And they only went out last night on a Friday night. So if you want to be at the Dublin one, you need to be clicking that link now. Manchester, London, come on. I don't know how we're doing with those. I've not had any updates, but I know Manchester was well on the way. London's a bigger venue. We want to see you there. Get your tickets. Get them today. On the live tour, will there be Casemiro polls, says Robert McCormack. We are going to do polls on the tour. If you're on That's Football yesterday, a legendary poll, that's what he's talking about, of course. But let's get on with this here. We're going to start straight away about what Erik ten Hag has said. These are direct quotes from Erik ten Hag, so you'll be able to see exactly what he is saying about potential signings next week. So he says, on potential signings in the next week, I have an idea, but in the coming days, if I had the opportunity in the coming days, then I would go for it. But this is not only up to me. I think at this club, every day, that has to be the approach. Massive. That is massive. That is a massive statement from a manager of any football club, but that is a massive statement from Manchester United manager Erik ten Hag. Just do it. In these next few days, just go and do it because he needs it. He'll be massively frustrated. Massively frustrated. We've probably all been in this situation, right? You know, I certainly had it. I know I didn't come from back in the early 90s, it was a different world to now. Not everybody had a plasma TV. Not everyone had Sky. At Christmas, you waited for it for ages to get a Mega Drive. You didn't get one for, because you did well in a spelling test. Money was more, I think valuable when I was growing up. So, things like that would happen. You'd play for your school football team, you'd get man of the match, and then your mate's parents would go and buy him a brand new pair of football boots. And you'd be like, can I have a pair of football boots? No. And you'd be like, come on, I'm doing as good as he is. Why can't I be rewarded? I'm good. No, we can't afford it. And it's not a very nice lesson because you're doing really, really well and you probably deserve it, but you just can't have it. And I think that is it's a life lesson. Erik ten Hag will feel exactly the same. He'll be looking at people like Graham Potter. He'll be looking at people like Mikel Arteta. He'll see them getting rewarded by their board who are backing them and trusting them, and he's not getting that. And it will be frustrating. And of course you put a smile on your face and you get on with it and you talk about how good your squad is. But the bottom line is he inherited the worst ever Premier League side United have ever had. There are big holes in that team, even with 200 million being spent last summer. It makes me laugh how so-called observers say, how can you moan when you spent £200 million in the summer? Oh, I forgot that every United fan said we only need 200 million spending on this team and we'll be absolutely fine. We need about at least £500 million. And anybody would, what was it Rangnick said? Open heart surgery, at least 10 signings. Well, we've only had 5. So we're not even halfway there. So all this nonsense about what we spent in the summer, jog on and support Bolton. I can't stand that sort of, gobbiness where people, you're lucky you can spend a tenner. We can't even afford toilet roll. That's not my problem. Man United's a big club. We've got the money. We just won't bloody spend it. And I understand Ten Hag's frustration. I really, really do. I think it must be massively frustrating for Ten Hag to know what a fantastic job he's done, and he has done a fantastic job. Obviously, it's a little bit overshadowed by what Arteta's doing with Arsenal, which is remarkable. But, I think if Pep was running away with this title, then everyone would be talking about Ten Hag and what a great job he's done. But because it's Arteta, that sort of overshadows what Ten Hag's done. But it is remarkable. It is fantastic. Mark, could the bull pull Could the board pull a rabbit out of the hat, says Mikel. I don't think we're going to pull a rabbit out of the hat. I think we might pull a shrew out of the hat or a mouse, but we won't pull out a rabbit, because I think what you're talking about there is, and it's a good question, Mikel, will the board just pull out 40 million in the last few days of the transfer window? No, because if they had that money, I think Ten Hag would pin them up against the wall. We know when you pin someone up, not by the neck, when you use that bit of your arm and you get them up against the wall. I think he would do that. He would go, where's the bloody 40 million come from? Where's the bloody 40 million come from? I want a Gakpo. Bloody Gakpo. And you're chucking 40 million at the end of the window? You prats. So I don't think that will happen. What I think could happen is the loan deal. But look, he's desperate. He's desperate. And I think as a result of that, we are desperate. Like, there are good signings. I mean, Casido's handing in a transfer request, and Arsenal and Chelsea are fighting out for a midfielder that we would bloody love. It's odd. And I think we've got this comfort blanket of the sale. Oh, it doesn't matter, we're going to get sold. But as I said last night, we could have been sold a long time ago. They are dragging this out to make themselves more money, and our season's got the handbrake on. Other clubs and rivals are strengthening in January. We're losing ground. Even if we spend in the summer, we're still losing ground because we didn't do it in January. So it sets us back. We are at a standstill, and it must be massively frustrating for Ten Hag. But look, exactly what it says. He has an idea. In the coming days, if I had the opportunity in the coming days, then I would go for it. But that's not up to me. I mean, that's the Manchester United manager saying, if it was up to me, I'd be going out getting players. But at this club, you have to do that. That has to be the approach every day. I mean, that's amazing. That's a massive statement. I saw it last night and I was like, bloody hell, I've gone live and said it's huge news on much less than that. That's a Man United manager saying, if it was up to me, I'd be getting players in now, and you've got to be doing that every single day if you want to progress. That's the statement, people. The manager of Man United is saying, if it's up to me, I'd be bringing players in, and if it was up to me, this is what they should be doing every day of every transfer window, with that approach of improve, improve, improve. It's a very, very big statement, and it's a very, very big indicator of the handbrake is on the club. And the trouble with these sort of things is, it's in your mind in the window, but is it in your mind in mid-April when we've got an injury crisis and we're dropping points at home to Fulham? This is how the club gets away with it. But hopefully this won't keep happening. Hopefully this is the last transfer window it happens, because Ten Hag is definitely, he's not a Solskjaer. He's not somebody who goes, I'm happy with the squad, everything's going well, I've got a smile on my face. I think he could have the best squad in the world and he'd still be saying you've got to improve it. I like Ten Hag's mentality. I like his obsessiveness. I think if he had Neymar as a front three with Mbappe and Erling Haaland, he'd still be looking to bring a striker in to keep them on their toes, which is great for us because you've got a manager that's always looking to improve, and that's what you have to do. That is what you have to do. So big update from Erik Ten Hag there on what is going on with the transfers. Let's have a look at what people are saying. And the only reason we spent 200 was because of the incompetent board. We could have gotten a lot of players for cheaper, says Rohit. Yeah, well, United spent £200 million in the summer. They should have spent 150. So there's £50 million that Ten Hag should have had. And I'm sure he said that. If I was manager of Manchester United, I would say that. I'd walk into the boardroom, and the minute one of them prats said to me, well, we spent £200 million in the summer, so you can't complain, I'd say, I will complain because you crap at your job. You overspent by £50 million. Do your job better, and I wouldn't have to put up with loanees. Hey up, the board don't even have a bloody hat to pull rabbits from, says Cyril. Hope to see Palestri tonight. He's a grand lad who plays a very United style. Hope so, Cyril. And the Dan Juma deal would have even been a great option for us, says James. I'd seriously try for Tielemans, but clearly I'm lacking Murtaugh's wisdom and foresight. James, I think you've inadvertently answered your own question there. Dan Juma would have been an interesting deal. We couldn't afford it. We couldn't even afford that as a loan deal. We've got absolutely no chance of doing a Tielemans deal. So we've got no money. Whether that... I think we have got money. I think the Glazers just don't want to spend money. Everything I've heard about why United can't spend money, you can argue back with. We spent 200 million in the summer. Yeah, you overspent. We're worried about financial fair play. Yeah, Chelsea aren't. They haven't. The Glazers. What's actually happened here is, and I do have some sympathy with Murtaugh and Arnold, even though I don't think they're particularly good at their job. I think the Glazers are in charge of this football club, and they've said they're not spending any money. I miss Ollie. He was backed and loved by the Glazers, says Sharia. I think if he was given time, he could have achieved what Erik Ten Hag is. That's a lesson in don't do drugs. That's a worrying message on a Saturday morning. I'm joking. Yeah, look, Solskjaer did a good job. He did a good job in bringing a momentarily feel-good factor to Manchester United. He did. But once that smile had worn off, there wasn't anything else. There was no tactical acumen. There was no scouting, tactical transfer strategy. The style of football was shite. And the job was too big for him. But for the first few weeks after Mourinho, it was a refreshing change, and it did put a smile on everyone's face. It should have just stopped at that. He should have been an interim manager. He should have gone in the summer. He should have been. I blame Ed Woodward. He should have stayed. He should have stayed till the end of the season and then gone. We handed him a contract at a stupid time. Anyway, we move on. This is quite an interesting update. It sort of fits in with the story that was coming out from France last night that Sir Jim Ratcliffe is going to buy Manchester United for $4 billion. That story doesn't make any sense because you can't actually buy Man United at the moment for $4 billion. You have to put a bid in with everybody else, and the Glazers will assess it, and then they'll go for final bids in March. So there is no way you can buy Man United at the moment. If I had £5 billion, I can't buy Man United. I'd have to put a bid in, and then they'd ask everyone else. So you can't actually bid for Manchester United at the moment. But this is look, it's a news story. I don't know really. Man United officials are convinced that Sir Jim Ratcliffe has no intention of making a bid that matches the Glazers' demands. It goes on to say that some Manchester United think that Ineos, which is Sir Jim Ratcliffe's business, are only doing this for positivity PR. Look, I don't know a lot about Ineos. I know that they're not particularly popular with Greenpeace and people like that because they're a chemical company of some description, aren't they? Look, I think this sort of bollocks is going to come out, isn't it? I think that, saying that Sir Jim Ratcliffe only is bidding for Man United because he wants positive PR for his company that gets a lot of negativity. Well, he's also a local lad who supports Manchester United, so I think cut him some slack there. I don't think it's not like Amazon or Apple attaching themselves to a Man United bid for a little, to sell a few more laptops. I think that Sir Jim Ratcliffe would love to buy a football club. He's got Nice, he wanted Chelsea, he'd like to buy Man United because he supports Man United. I'm more interested in this statement, which is that Man United don't feel he's got the money. I feel that could be a red. I mean, we are playing a game here. It's a bit like boxing before a fight, isn't it? When everyone's throwing stuff out there. Last night we get that Sir Jim Ratcliffe's going to buy Man United for $4 billion from, let's be honest, it doesn't make sense. To this morning we get United don't think he's got the money to bid what the Glazers want. That's posturing. That's taunting from both sides if they've put those stories out. But that could be United saying, we don't think you can afford it, sort of goading him, knowing that his bid is probably going to be a realistic bid, and they know that's not going to be enough. So they're almost going, we don't think you've got the money. So it doesn't mean Sir Jim Ratcliffe's not going to buy United. I mean, to be honest, that sort of story does fit in with a lot of what experts say, that Sir Jim Ratcliffe is not going to spend what Man United's not worth. £4 billion is probably what United are realistically worth. But you don't always get a house or a car or a jumper for what it's worth. I was wearing a jumper last night that cost a lot of money, probably cost about 1/10 of that to make, but it's got a badge on it. So, you don't always get something for what it's worth. And I don't know. A lot of people say that Sir Jim Ratcliffe will not want to pay $6 billion for something that's worth $4 billion. So we'll see. Anyone? Any chance of Incy coming for a cameo before the game? No. Sus, no. I used to remember back in the day, Mark used to answer normal messages. Says Amal, I still do. I'm not going to do a chart show when there's lots of live stuff to talk about. Thank you very much. We need proper owners who are willing to invest in sensible transfers and football infrastructure, says Hadi. And what realistic signings do you think we can pull, says the Black Cat. I don't know. I mean, interestingly enough, there was a story come on. Rob McCormack says, good on Brighton, staying firm, and Casido. There was an interesting story coming in from, I think it was coming in from Germany this morning, that Dortmund are looking to extend the contract of Marco Reus. I'd be very happy with this. Some people feel he's the most logical loan deal for Man United to do in the next few days. As I said yesterday, it might be logical, but I don't think it's realistic. I don't really want Marco Reus to sign for Man United in the summer. He's had three and a half ankle injuries in the last 3.5 months. And he's 33. for me, it's a no deal, even though he's good. But yeah, I don't. That's not a deal I would look at if I was Manchester United. But maybe he will sign a new contract at Manchester United. Just as we've moved on from the Sir Jim story, maybe he can't afford Manchester United. I don't know. There's plenty of people who can afford Man United. Like some of the people that are going to bid for Manchester United can certainly afford Manchester United. So I wouldn't worry about that. And of course, I think some people do get a little bit obsessed with Sir Jim Ratcliffe buying Manchester United. I see it all the time. I see it all the time. People going on about what a great signing he is, like they bloody live with him. Like they know what he has for breakfast, like they know what his plan is. Nobody knows what his bloody plan is. He's a Man United fan. That's a great start, but there's been many fans of many clubs who've ruined it. So I'm just of the opinion when it comes to the sale, and I've said it before, I do find it somewhat boring at this moment in time because it's a lot of speculation and posturing, and ultimately the Glazers will make the choice. For me, it's all about what owners we get. I mean, wouldn't it be just vindictive of the Glazers to pick somebody who's going to be worse than them so that they get a load of money and then in a couple of years they can say, see, the grass isn't always greener? I mean, how vindictive would that be? They get the money they want, but they sell us to the worst people ever who are worse than the Glazers. And then they can go, haha, we were better than them. But no, I don't know. We need a Bruno backup. It's a position we struggle to fill. We also need a CDM, says Mr. Tony. Well, let's have a look at some of the other stuff that Ten Hag has said that we didn't cover from the press conference yesterday that came out last night. First of all, we have got a quote from Paul Ince. He says, obviously Reading manager, we're playing them tonight. What Ten Hag's doing now, he's giving this team a presence. They're a lot tougher now than what they have been for 4 or 5 years. Were they a soft touch? Probably, but I sense that he's building something here. That's from Paul Ince. This was brilliant from Ten Hag. He's talking about young players, and we know this from, we cover his press conferences, we do a reaction video, we discuss Ten Hag quite in depth on the show. So we're already aware of this, but it never hurts for him, for a direct quote to be read out from the manager. He says, I never let players get opportunities. A player has to deserve opportunities, and Garnacho and Pellistri are doing that by performances on the training pitch, by performances where on the pitch on match day. Now, he said this before. He doesn't believe... Ten Hag believes in promoting youth. 100% he believes in promoting youth. Look at his record at Ajax. But what he's firm on is he doesn't just give a young player an opportunity. You have to earn the opportunity. You have to be as good as the first team players in training. You're not just potential. He's not going to see a young player training with the first team and go, oh, they're doing quite well because they're 18 compared to these lot. You've got to mix it up with the first team. You've got to earn that starting spot more than a Anthony or a Rashford or someone like that. You've got to be in that equation. And what he's saying, and he's been consistent about that. So whenever a young player gets put on the bench and people start going, oh, why is he there? Why is he there? Why is he giving opportunity more than others? Ten Hag has made it very, very clear that will be because they've earned it. In his mind, they earned it. And then you'll get your opportunity. Well, it's not an opportunity. You'll play for Man United because you deserve to play for Man United, not because you're under you're under 21. Ozzy says, I know it's a news show, but half the transfer news will never happen. The sale should be the main focus, says Ozzy. Yeah, Ozzy, thanks for the super chat, but again, probably wake up before you start putting out comments like that. I mean, I don't really know, Ozzy. I don't know what your point is. I know it's a news show, but none of it will happen before the transfer. I mean, it's a very logical statement, but it's a news show. We're talking about the news. 7 years we've been doing it. Just don't watch it. This was interesting from Samuel Luckhurst. Ozzy, put your eyes away because it's news that might not happen. So Samuel Luckhurst, the chief Manchester United reporter for the Manchester Evening News, says Erik Ten Hag is open to a second pursuit of Frenkie de Jong. The club have also not ruled out another move for Jude Bellingham. I mean, look, this will get people excited. I always think it's interesting when things come in for a couple of... did they actually spend 200 million though? Most of the deals are in instalments, says James, exactly. I think that this sort of story is always interesting when it comes in from somebody like a Samuel Luckhurst or a James Ducker, who obviously gets information from the club. We had this about a month ago, didn't we? Remember that? Was it a Sunday morning a month ago? Where 4 or 5 journalists from separate outlets who are close to the club spoke about De Jong and Bellingham. And we were like, why are we talking about De Jong and Bellingham at the start of a January transfer window from credible journalists? And we deduced quite quickly that the reason credible journalists are talking about Frankie De Jong and Bellingham in the summer is because the club are clearly trying to push our attention to the summer, because we're not going to do much in the January transfer window. And lo and behold, that was a month ago. And lo and behold, a month later, we haven't done anything in the January transfer window. So it was spin to avert our eyes from now to the summer. And here we are with 3 days of the transfer window left, and another journalist that's close to the club is talking about Frankie De Jong and Bellingham in the summer. I've played the game. You've played the game. I know what's going on here, and so do you. This sort of stuff, it's not even worth talking about. It's complete and utter spin. There's nothing to say. We are in a January transfer window where we need reinforcements, and we are talking about pie-in-the-sky signings like Frankie De Jong and Jude Bellingham in the summer. We've got games to play now. We've got Barcelona home and away in a couple of weeks. We're in a race for top 4. We've got a Carabao Cup final in a month. We're still in the FA Cup. What's Jude Bellingham and Frankie De Jong doing for that? You can't live in the future. The past is already written. You've got to live in the now. This pie-in-the-sky spin nonsense helps nobody. So look, I personally just think that type of story comes from somewhere within the club to a credible journalist close to United who writes it out there. I've got no dispute in relation to the validity of the story. I'm sure United would love Frankie De Jong and Jude Bellingham in the summer. But why is it coming out now? It's distraction tactics, and I think we're bored of it. I think we're all bored of it because our focus is on the now, and that is irrelevant because that depends on who the new owner is and how quickly they get in and what budget they have. If we don't get new owners in quick enough, we won't be signing Jude Bellingham's brother, let alone Jude Bellingham. So it's all just speculation, and we need reality. Hi Mark, this is my first super chat, says Fabricius, from South Africa. Are we going to talk about the game tonight? Chances on resting Bruno tonight. Say hi to Ricky. I've already done it on the preview yesterday morning, mate. I think Bruno will start, but obviously we will be live for a watch along, and we'll have the road trip later as well. It feels like Ten Hag prefers Ramos as the future striker, and kudos to play the João Felix type of role. He could back up both Ramos and Bruno, says Andrew Davis. Interesting. And maybe that explains why Elanga got more game time than Palestri and Garnacho early on, as the basics were better than them at the time. Doel, you're right. Elanga clearly has been getting game time because he's been doing well in training. There's no doubt about that. I think that's absolutely true. GTK, who's one of our members, says, Mark, what would you value Marcus Rashford at his current value? Well, he's only got 1 year left on his deal, so I wouldn't go anything over £100 million. If he signs a 5-year deal, I think you put his value goes north about 150. But the modern market's so hard to read. I mean, what's Kylian Mbappe worth in the modern market? I don't know. I saw some nonsense yesterday that Casido's not worth 60 million quid, and I was like, do you watch football? How is Casido not worth 60 million quid? Arsenal aren't stupid anyway. Of course he's worth 60 million pounds. If Enzo Fernandez is topping off at 100 million, then Casido is worth 60 million. Oh, he's only played a certain amount of games for Brighton. Well, tell me you don't watch Brighton without telling me you don't watch Brighton. Of course he's worth 60 million quid. I think that's exactly the price he's worth. Brighton would basically be in the top 4 if they had money. He's one of their best players. He's in his early 20s. He's only going to get better. I think £60 million for Casido is not ridiculous. I mean, Anthony Gordon's just gone for 45 million. So, look, it's very hard to put a value on a player at the moment. Really hard to put a value on a player at the moment because the market's all over the place, isn't it? Right, there is some stuff I want to talk about as well in relation to what Ten Hag had to say about a few things. This was quite interesting. I mean, I don't know why he was asked. I mean, the great thing is, remember when I did the press conference reaction yesterday and I said, I'm sure they'll ask about Martial in the second half. No. They asked a couple of questions about Harry Maguire. Why are we getting questions about Harry Maguire? He is not the reincarnation of Bobby Moore. Like, English journalists are obsessed with I've got to talk about them in a minute. I reckon Man United communications must say to these journalists, you can only ask 2 questions about Harry Maguire. Like, every bloody press conference, they're obsessed with Harry Maguire. I don't get it. So I've got to talk about that in a minute. But there was a question about Phil Jones, and there wasn't a question about Anthony Martial. So I don't know anything about Martial. But this is what he had to say about Phil Jones. If we'll see Phil Jones play this season, I can't say. What I can say is he's not been available for training and hasn't been since the first day of training this season. The opportunity that you recover also goes. I mean, that is horrific, isn't it? And no part of me am I going to start doing jokes. Phil Jones hasn't been fit since Erik ten Hag walked into the football club. You know, I don't really know. I'm very rarely speechless, but I really do know. I don't know what to say, because there is a human being behind this story, and you struggle to fit. You know, I know he earns good money, but you know, it's like being off sick, isn't it? You know, if you were on good money but you're off sick all the time, you're sick. You know, that's going to cause you mental issues, isn't it? Like, you know, it's going to be a struggle. So I think the only angle I can take with this is that's just, you know, I think whoever gave him the 5-year contract when he had all those injuries was a prat, and a complete and utter prat. But maybe it was a sympathy vote. I don't know. But he's not trained since Ten Hag came here. Like, he's been injured for basically a year, and you know, the 4 years before that he was basically injured. So I mean, he's, you know, physically his body must be broken. Like, it must be. He's out of contract in the summer. You can't hand contracts out to people. Like, he's earned 80 grand for the last year not playing. And you know what? There'll be people screaming in the live chat who've played the game and had to retire at 18 or 19 or 20 because they got a bad knee injury and never had the chance to earn all that money. So at least Phil can take that as a positive. There's loads of footballers that could have been brilliant that have had to retire early because of injuries and all sorts. So look, if I was Phil Jones, I'd take the positives in life. You've got your health, hopefully, and you've earned a lot of money, and you've won a few medals. It must be torturous not to be able to play football. It's a really, really sad update, but you know, some footballers have had it a lot worse. You know, they don't get the paydays that Phil Jones has had. So I'd take that as a positive, I suppose. Here we go. 2 questions on Harry Maguire. Actually, we'll start off with this. He was asked if Harry Maguire is now the 5th choice centre-back at Man United. And I must say, I don't know whether Harry likes being mentioned in press conferences. Maybe he does. But I'd bloody hate it. I'd be like, why do they keep talking about me? It just puts a target on me. Why talk about me? I'm not starting at the moment. Is Erik ten Hag the 5th choice centre-back at the moment? So that would put him behind Varane, yes. Martinez, yes. Luke Shaw? Lindelof, and then Maguire. So that's what they're saying. Erik ten Hag says that's not true. After the World Cup, he should have played, but he got ill. There's nothing I can do about that. He knows that. And then you come in during a good run, and he has to wait for his chance. This is the law of top-level football and selection. You have to wait for your chance, and in the meantime, you have to work well to prove the chance is there. And I think, you know, I don't get it. Somebody just said there, what's the obsession with Harry Maguire? I mean, the answer from Erik ten Hag is absolutely spot on. I don't get it. You know, if it's Jude Bellingham, or it's Phil Foden, or it's Marcus Rashford, I get it. They are very, very talented English players. Harry Maguire is a decent English centre-back who gets treated by the press like he's, you know, the best centre-back we've ever produced. It's just, I don't get it. I think it's poor journalism, to be honest with you. And I feel sorry for Maguire, but I just don't really know. He might, like I say, he might like being mentioned. You know, he might be asking the journalist to ask a question. I don't know. Shout out Charlie Asprey, says Asprey. There you go. But, you know, it's poor journalism because it shows you don't have a knowledge of football. If you've got to ask a question about why Harry Maguire's not playing games, or is he 5th choice centre-back now, well, you're not watching the match. Martinez and Varane are way better than Maguire. They are. They're just a different level of centre-back. Luke Shaw is a better understudy for Martinez at left centre-back. So I'd play Luke Shaw over Harry Maguire there. If Varane's injured, that's Maguire's place, right side centre-back, it's him or Lindelof. So it's not about being fifth choice centre-back anyway. This is what I mean. It's poor journalism because you can't be fifth choice centre-back. If Martinez is injured, I'd play Luke Shaw there because he's left-footed. And if Varane is injured, I'd play Maguire or Lindelof. That doesn't make Maguire fifth choice centre-back. So people, it's poor journalism. And also, can you not figure that out for yourself? Can you not figure out that Luke Shaw is the understudy to Martinez and it's either Lindelof or Maguire who understudies Varane? It's a non-topic. It's a non-topic, and it just puts wood on the fire. Wood. It does, because it's an irrelevance. And actually, you've wasted an opportunity to ask a decent question about recruitment or Martial or something like that. It's a non-topic, and I don't think anybody's personally interested in that. And look, we also all know that Harry Maguire will start tonight and potentially on Wednesday. And whilst that won't be what Harry wants, it's still an opportunity to captain and play for Manchester United. And as Erik ten Hag says, if you do well, you're basically in a straight-up fight with Lindelof if Varane needs to be rested or he gets injured. So the story answers itself in a sense. And also, let's not forget, against Charlton, Maguire got nutmegged twice by a League One forward. So he's not... He had a good World Cup, but in a United shirt, it's been, pretty much like that for the last 2 years, hasn't it? So I just think it doesn't really matter. It really, really doesn't matter. And we are going to need players like Lindelof and Maguire over the next few weeks, because it's very, very, very unlikely that Varane will go between now and the end of the season without an injury. Honestly, and I said it the other night, if Varane gets injured, we saw it on Wednesday night. I personally like Lindelof and Martinez as a centre-back pairing more than I like Martinez and Maguire. But Maguire gives you that aerial ability. So, look, I think there's a lot of rotation that can happen. Would there ever be a chance for the United stand to attend a Premier League press conference, says David B? It would be nice. And Villarreal says, why do you have a problem with your own £80 million centre-back? I don't. You're not listening. You're just a troublemaker. Lindelof is more mobile. I think it's close. I think it's close between those two. But we're debating about the backup centre back, and I think that ultimately what we really should be debating is what the top of the show we're talking about is why Ten Hag is publicly saying I would be getting players in, but it's out of my hands. That's not really good enough, is it? Anyway, it is match day. We are going to be live on a Saturday night. I hate Saturday night football, but it is Man United. We'll be live from 7 o'clock with the team news. 8 o'clock kickoff, Manchester United against Reading. I've gone for 4-0 to Man United. Is that disrespectful to Reading at that point? I was in the shower this morning and I thought, 4-0 might be a little bit too far if he makes quite a lot of changes. But where can I get that hoodie, says Paul. It's a lovely hoodie. Just go to United Stand. Just type United Stand Shopify on Google and you'll find it there. We do ship them worldwide. It's only been out a couple of weeks, actually. It is very nice, this. Good morning, Mark. Which player from the academy would you like to see called up next? By the way, I like your bong in the background. Yeah, you need to go to Specsavers, mate. There's no paraphernalia like that midnight in here. I know what you think. It's not. It's a bloody whiskey glass rotunda or whatever they call it. I don't know. Hopefully we'll see Sancho tonight as well, yes. We'll have a road trip for you this afternoon. I'm just about to record something for That's Football as well, if you want to watch that. And watch along today. Can't wait for that. Thanks everyone for watching. If you want to get these United Stand Shopify, type it into Google. There might be a link in the video description that will take you there as well. Decanter, that's what it's called. Thank you very much. Big shout out to educated Michael George. Appreciate that. And Paul got it as well. Decanter, you see. You're very, very clever. Tickets. Get your tickets. The live tour is going to be amazing. I'm putting some ideas together every day. We're going to, there's going to be too much to cover in one show, but it's going to be a great evening. Dublin's nearly sold out. Get your tickets. London, Manchester as well. International break in March. Can't wait to see you there. Links in the live chat and it's in the video description. Get them while you can. They will go quote. I think they will be gone by the end of the weekend, so make sure you get them if you want to be there. And we hopefully will have more dates coming out soon, but not in March. So if you want to be the first, get your tickets. I'll speak to you a little bit later. Take care. Thank you very much for watching.